Hey, thank you for tuning in today, and I have something to show you. These are belt buckles that I made after I got a birthday gift of these Grip 6 belt buckles that work really well. I wanted to see if I could do something and kind of make it artistic in a way. So I began making these Grip 6 buckles, lookalikes at least, using the Grip 6 belt and just getting some Home Depot bar stock and creating these little patterns. You can see I have one here, the Apple logo, a buffalo, a diving dolphin, a trout, my initials in Greek, Batman. I love this one here with the pine trees on it and my initials over here. And I also got into laminating wood onto aluminum in these two examples here. So there's so many things you can do. These, the cost on them ends up being about 82 cents a piece. So if you'd like to know more about this, stay tuned and I'll kind of walk you through the whole process of making these really interesting belt buckles that you can switch off or give away as gifts. And you can see here I made a little stand so I can hook them up and hang them in the closet and change them as needed. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is take this bar of aluminum stock. I got this at Home Depot, and it's 2 inches by 1/8 inch thick and 36 inches long. It's a yard long. And what I need to do is trim off of it. You can see this is a finished buckle that I've made. And I need to take, this is exactly 1.5 inches, so I need to cut a 1/2 inch off here. And I found that this yardstick also is 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is take it and I'm going to line it up right here. And what I can do to kind of hold it, because I'm working alone, is even up the edge, put this holdfast right here and smack it down, and then come down to the other end. You can't see me doing this obviously because I can't move the camera and do this at the same time, but I'll just lock it on both sides. Now after I've locked it, I have that 1/2 inch gap all the way down, and I can check on the back side to see if my yardstick is running true. Okay, I got a little bit better marker, and I'm going to come down that edge with that marker. And after I've come down the edge, a better marking device is going to be this X-Acto knife. I'm going to hold it vertical, and this is going to be where I will end up grinding it down. So I'm pulling that. The nice thing about it, it really bites into the aluminum and it doesn't jump around. So I have a black line, and then I have a second line that is etched in there. The black line I'll cut outside of, and then I'll grind it down to the etched line. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm afraid to do it on my bandsaw. Some people say you can do it, but I just don't want to take a chance. And I'll show you here what I'm going to use to cut this. Well, I'm about ready to cut. I'm going to be using this Delta 20 volt max jigsaw, portable jigsaw, and I'm using a real fine tooth blade in there, and you can see it has fine teeth. They're very sharp, and I have it set at just an up and down motion, no forward grabbing motion. And you can see I have it clamped down here with my hold fast. I'm going to just cut up to this spot on the outside of the black line, and then I'm going to move this hold fast behind it so I can continue cutting. Here we go. I'm having a little trouble with this jigsaw blade getting through here. It's starting to jump around. So I'm going to use a trick that I use with the scroll saw. I took some of this Scotch Ultra Clear packaging tape and I ran it right along here, and I folded it under so it's on both sides, And supposedly what that's supposed to do is melt, the blade melts it and it lubricates the blade as we're going through. So we'll take a look and see if that makes any difference in our cut. Here we go. Wow, that's a world of difference. I can't tell you, it's just like I poured oil all over it. So I strongly recommend using this packaging tape as you do this cut. There we go, not a bad cut. I took a 1/2 inch off the entire length of this. This is kind of stupid though. Shouldn't I go out and look for a source of 1.5 inch thick material and I don't have to do this? But I'm lazy. I just go to Home Depot and grab what they have. So we'll go ahead and I think I'm going to keep this scrap. Someday I'll find a use for a 1/2 inch piece of aluminum. Now my belt buckle measures 2 3/8 inches long, and I have one I can use here as a pattern. So what I'll do is I'll lay it right here, and then when I get it lined up really well, I will take my X-Acto knife, make sure everything's squared up, and let me set that just where I want it, and then I'm going to score this. And then I'm going to look at that scoring and I'm going to leave myself about an 1/8 inch gap. And that gap is there for the blade, and then I can sand it true later. So I'll just go along and score this, leaving that 1/8 inch gap each time. I don't know if you can see this really well. I'll try to get it in the reflection. But you can see I have 2 3/8. I have that gap, another 2 3/8 and a gap, and I'll run the blade between each of those gap lines, and then I don't have to worry about it being super square because I'll square it later on the belt disc sander. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the cross cuts. I have this bar held down by some more holdfasts. I put tape, clear tape underneath to lubricate, and I'm going to just cut each one a little bit proud so I can sand it down to the line. That one wasn't proud enough. I was right on the line, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more generous next time. Out of my 36-inch bar, I was able to get 14 of these blanks, with this scrap left over and a usable scrap 1/2 inch wide left over, and these came to 82 cents a piece. So my material cost on these belt buckles is 82 cents. In order to find patterns, what I do is go to a particular website where I find a logo of something, or just Google an image, and then I use a screen capture to capture it and put it into a PDF and put it onto any word processing file, and then I can shrink it small or get it larger, and then I just take my piece of aluminum and set it behind and get a little backlighting on it, and I can see the size that works best. When that's done, cutting it out, I use this boxing tape to tape it down onto the aluminum, and the boxing tape serves that extra purpose of lubricating the blade as I cut through it. Now, in order to get the belt slots on both sides of this buckle, what I do is you can either measure in from the corners 3/16 of an inch in both ways and mark it. After you've done one, then you can use it as a template, and I still have to grind this down a bit, so I can set it like that and use my punch
and punch the corners
and drill through those spots with a 1/8 inch drill bit, 1/8. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera and bring it back. You can see now I have these 1/8 inch holes drilled, and then I can just take and put my little ruler right on the outside of each hole and then pull a line with my X-Acto knife here on each side of the holes. And then when I cut on those lines, you can see there I have the lines. When I cut on those lines, I will have the belt slot right where I need it. Now, there's something very different about the profile of the original piece of bar stock and my finished belt. Notice there's a bend in the center of this, and I'll show you how to put that bend in. And also you can see I have a taper near the end here where I've taken material off. This is simply done using either a file across here, or I take it against my belt sander and sand this edge so it slopes down, and then I get that desired taper at the end and the belt slides through there very nicely. You can either choose to bend this metal before or after cutting it. I normally do it before cutting, and rather than hitting it with a hammer, I found if I take a C-clamp and drop it over like this and clamp it in nice and tight, I found the center of the belt buckle and clamped it in here just below the center. I can bend it gently like this. That's about all I'll need. And then when I pull it out, you can see I have just enough bend in there to contour to my waist. In cutting this on your scroll saw, much better than trying to just hold this piece of metal with your fingers, I made this tool, 2 pieces of maple, drilled a hole through them. You can see I have a long threaded rod in here. I can tighten on both sides, and I cut a bend that matches the bend that I put in my belt buckle, so that tightens in there, and when I go to cut, I can steer this around with perfect safety and ease, and it never gets out of my hand, and it's cutting it in midair. I hope maybe this inspires you to just try one of these. It's really fun, and when you're all done, there's one last thing to make them look really nice. The final finish you can put on your belt buckle, you just sand it. You can use an orbital sander to sand out the deep nicks in it, and then either go to like Ace True Value and buy some of this metal polishing pad, or I went to the 99-cent store and just got these Scotch-Brite pads, knockoffs, and then if you take these and just go in one direction horizontally, and if these ever get a little bit of a scratch on them, you just go back with the Scotch-Brite and just make that really nice finish on there. I hope you're inspired to make some of these. They're a lot of fun, and you can give them away as gifts. They're great conversation pieces. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.